Hey guys, welcome to Simply Bitcoin, a channel that breaks down all the Bitcoin news from Twitter to important updates to cringy fails. We have it all. Before we get started, drop us a like and don't forget to subscribe. Take it away, Phil.
All right, everybody. Let's dive right into the Clark Moody dashboard.
Clark Moody dashboard.
We love the Clark Moody dashboard. All right, so here we go. The block height is 643,595. We're looking at a price of 11,842. GBTC premium took a little bit of a dip. It's at 15.1%. Wow, chain rewrites down to 532, and the total lightning capacity is sitting at 981.78 Bitcoin.
Those stats just keep getting more bullish, Phil. More bullish.
Building a base is what we're doing.
Absolutely. And that the boomer Bitcoin, it dipped a little bit.
That's right, you know. But I did see a tweet today by I think it's Reed Womack, who works for Swan Bitcoin, and he made a comment about how he was pleasantly surprised to learn that there's a really high percentage of boomers that are stacking with Swan. So that's pretty cool for them.
That's awesome.
They're finding, it's a lower barrier to entry, and that's one of the keys to adoption, whether people like to accept it or not.
That's really bullish, man. That's really cool. Really, really, really cool. And what's the daily fail, Phil?
I was going to say, man, should we move on? Take a look at the daily fail. All right. So here we go. Daily fail is, we're talking about DeFi and yams. Okay, so I started making fun of this 2 days ago. I'm like, what the hell, what the hell is yield farming and what the hell are yams? So I guess it's some shit coin, and apparently, well, here, I'll just switch right over to the article. This thing, okay, so look, the codes never even had an audit. And the price, even though this thing doesn't actually do anything, just to give people an idea of how they get sucked in psychologically to this, the price went from $0 to $138 in the 20 hours or so since it launched.
That's crazy.
Okay, the token now trades at $126. And that was at the time of this writing, though. But I mean, that is just absolutely insane.
It's a Ponzi scheme. It sounds like a Ponzi scheme.
Nothing. It's unbelievable. So the fail today is definitely a combination of DeFi and yams, because sure, some people did make money in the interim, but the reality is there's a whole bunch of bag holders that are holding nothing but vaporware.
Absolutely. And that just also goes to show, Phil, that DeFi isn't DeFi, right? Because they're pushing it as decentralized finance, but it's not decentralized finance.
No, it's absolutely not decentralized finance in any way, shape, or form, and it actually makes no sense at all. I don't get it. People sit there, they lock up their ETH, and then all of a sudden, they get a bunch of some shitcoin that pumps.
I think that the tweet that you said had the most wisdom, and that for some reason that tweet just sticks by in my head because it had a lot of wisdom. And basically what you said is people are trading in the Federal Reserve as the central authority to a bunch of Ethereum developers, essentially.
Yeah.
So DeFi is a scam. So Phil, let's move on to the price action of today. It's more of the same, but you know what? We're on an up end, which is we pushed up from, let me zoom in a little bit so you guys know what I'm looking at. So we pushed up a little bit from yesterday from the 1,200 area. Like I've been saying, guys, if we stay up above this 10,500 mark and we start to consolidate, what I mean by consolidate is we start to see low volatility and not that much action. I kind of want to see that here. I want to see it calm down. So I want the chart to start, straightening out, not so much up and down movement like that. I want more like this. And then that will build a healthy support so that we could move on to the next resistance, which is 12.5K. I'm extremely bullish. I think this is extremely bullish. We haven't, historically speaking, we've only been at this level 2 times before, and it looks really healthy. What do you think, Phil?
Yeah, I definitely think it looks healthy. I was just actually looking at the 30-minute chart before we hopped on this on our show, and of course, in the last 30 minutes, we're doing a nice little pump again. So I mean, look, in the in the near term, it looks like we're doing some good accumulation. But like you said, I definitely want to see some of that near-term volatility, kind of slow down and for us to really just build that straight kind of ramp, So we're gonna see. We're gonna see.
I absolutely agree, and I'm really looking forward to the future, guys. We got some awesome pieces of news today, from our homie Hodonaut, the infamous or famous, whatever you want to call it, our space cat.
Space cat, our taco space cat.
Our taco space cat, a fellow pleb. And basically, to kind of give you guys a little bit of context, Craig Wright, the fraud, sued Hodonaut. It was, I would say, like 6 months ago, and it forced Hodonaut to kind of disappear off Twitter. The Bitcoin community absolutely supported him, and they all raised him up. And Craig Wright has a big war chest, unfortunately. But you know what? This is a happy ending to an extent, is the fact that the court ruled that Craig Wright should pay Hodonaut for the court expenses. However, Craig Wright, being the fraud that he is, guess what? He didn't pay up. Just like in the Ethan Klein, just like in the Klein case, Craig Wright came out in Florida, in a Florida court, and he said, "Listen, I own all these addresses." And he got proved wrong. A Bitcoiner came out and he cryptographically signed one of the addresses that Craig Wright basically told the court that he owned, and he physically couldn't own it because you can only cryptographically sign an address if you actually own those private keys. So that's that's more evidence that Craig Wright is a fraud. But we already know that. But you know what? I wanted to give you guys this update of our space cat. Yeah. And to move on to this, which I found this super bullish, and we've been talking about this for, I would say, for about a week, and you know what? It's not as cool as Hodonaut news, but it's still news because the mainstream absolutely loves this, right? So I told you guys last week, Dave Portnoy, I think he just did it for clout. He came on Twitter. He says, "What is Bitcoin?" And then the Winklevoss twins hit him up on on Twitter, and they said, "Listen, we'll show you," but I'm glad that they actually came through, and they're showing Dave Portnoy what Bitcoin is. I'm sure they're going to sign him up for Gemini. And this is super bullish because Dave Portnoy isn't talking about any shit coins, Phil. He's only talking about simply Bitcoin.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I ended up learning later, unfortunately.
Oh.
And I don't know if it's true, but saw it in a tweet from some pretty reputable plebe that he's thinking about making his own token. So
really, wow.
Hey, look, man, these guys.
He'll learn the hard way.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, exactly. They learn the hard way. They get wrecked. Okay, like the Winklevi. For that, actually, they're smart enough to keep their assets in Bitcoin, even though they indirectly shitcoin. Mm-hmm. But look, guys like Dave Portnoy, they're just interested in the fiat. They don't give a shit, man.
Absolutely.
So it's like gets our hopes up and everything, but like when we have no idols in Bitcoin, hey, any news is good news, because guess what? Whether he's buying shit coins or not, there's millions more people that are just getting exposed to Bitcoin as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So Phil.
So we got to take, we'll take our win, but I wouldn't be surprised if soon he's going to end up on the Daily Fail.
I'm looking forward to that. So Phil, tell me about your podcast, bro.
Oh, well, I released it today, actually. It was the podcast with fellow plebe and Bitcoiner Jimbo on the Fun with Bitcoin podcast. So, definitely check it out. funwithbitcoin.com.
I'm definitely going to do that when I go for a run tomorrow. I'm definitely going to look at hear the Fun with Bitcoin Jimbo podcast, and you guys should too.
Very cool. So, man, just wrap it all up. Like and subscribe, and tune in tomorrow if you want simply Bitcoin and no shit coins.